Another week of comics are in the books, and today I am sharing with you all the comic books and graphic novels and maybe something else that I picked up from my local comic shop. Now, I am not on my computer webcam as I normally am. I'm actually using my phone. So if the audio isn't as good or the video quality isn't as good, actually, it really looks kind of better, which is crazy, but I'm sure the audio isn't going to be as good. So bear with me on that. But if you enjoy this kind of content, like, comment, subscribe. Let's chop it up, talk comic books in the comments section. We've got several books. It was a pretty light week for me. But yeah, let's start off, since it is such a light week, with my personal pick of the week, Feral, issue number 11. This is by Tony Fleece, Tone Rodriguez, and Trish Forstner. The epic kitty cat zombie story continues. The cats, after just being taken out of the house of the crazy lady, she got into a car accident after everything, and there's a freaking rabid bear. This issue was so awesome. It continues to be amazing. Tony Fleece, I mean, again, if you're not into, it can be too much. It can be too much if you are really sensitive to animal violence. Now, obviously, animal violence is terrible. That being said, if it is too much, you do not want to read this one, but this story continues to be amazing. All of the cats are just trying to survive at this point. We do see a return of a lovable character. I don't want to give away too much, but Feral issue 11 continues to be phenomenal. We are going to give it 4 out of 5 stars. I mean, this book continues to absolutely crush it. Next up, I want to talk about Ultimate Spider-Man. This is issue number 15. And after what happened in the last issue, seemingly Harry Osborn was killed by Kraven. And they realized who Peter Parker was. And so they had to go on the lam, and it seems like they're kind of in the American Southwest, kind of just camping out, laying low. We get introduced to this interesting person who has goggles on. Who could that be? I don't know, but you have, Richard Parker, and of course his dad, Peter Parker. Richard Parker, of course, has the symbiote suit, and for the time being is kind of playing by the rules. The symbiote suit is being nice, but Peter Parker and Richard Parker get introduced to Sandman of this Ultimate Universe. This was a good issue. This was a very good issue. Of course, this is by Hickman, Messina, and Wilson. Issue 15. Checchetto not on the book. Still, Messina does a pretty good Checchetto impersonation. Not to say that they are trying to do that necessarily, but trying to keep up with the vibes. I'm sure it was something that they were interested in doing. This book was pretty darn good. The fact that Checchetto wasn't on it, I was a little bit worried that the art wasn't going to be as bombastic and as fluid as it normally is. But all things considered, I thought this was a pretty solid episode. I keep saying that, issue. And then the ending, we do get a scene with the Kingpin, Ben, and J. Jonah Jameson. I'm not going to divulge exactly what was said in that conversation. You'll definitely have to read it for yourself. But another solid issue. I will give this 3.5 stars. Overall, I really like the direction that Ultimate Spider-Man is going. And as always, Hickman is just dropping in little Easter eggs here and there. Like, who is that goggled old man who doesn't trust the government? I don't know. Don't know who that could be. Moving on, we have Radiant Black. This is issue number 32. And as you all know, I am a huge Radiant Black fan, but if I'm being honest, this issue kind of missed the mark for me. A little bit of a hodgepodge, kind of a slower issue. Now, that's not to say that nothing happened. Radiant Black's still doing Radiant Black things. Of course, we are still reeling from the chaos that was the Catalyst War. Marshall still trying to win back the favor of the public. The art still phenomenal, still very, very good. But that being said, this issue kind of missed the mark plot-wise for me. They're still rebuilding Chicago, of course, and not much else going on in this one. We did get introduced potentially to some new villains that have, space tech. So that was pretty cool. They did mention something pretty cool that I enjoyed. They did mention Clerks. There was a Clerks reference, and it was pointed out that it was a Clerks reference. Overall, though, Radiant Black, even in one of its slower, more dull issues, I would say this is still a 3, so still pretty decent. There was also a backup story, which was 1 page by Chris Pierce, who you may know as Comic Tropes. So it was pretty funny. 1 page, little backup story in the back with Marshall, and I enjoyed it. So that was kind of the highlight of this book for me, though, unfortunately. Not to say that it was a bad book, but overall, just not exactly what I expect to the level of what I've come to expect, rather, from Radiant Black, because I hold it in high regard. And then we have Beta Ray Bill. This is Daniel Warren Johnson's run on Beta Ray Bill, Agent Star. Let me preface this by, and I said this to Aaron, who works at my local comic shop, who I chat with every single Wednesday, and I greatly appreciate and cherish these comic book conversations with him. And kind of the reason I started the whole channel is because I thought we were having such good comic conversations, so I wanted to get it out there into the world, my thoughts and opinions on comic book. Anyways, Beta Ray Bill, Daniel Warren Johnson. I don't know anything about Beta Ray Bill. I do know quite a bit about Daniel Warren Johnson, though, that he is my favorite comic book creator, not just artist, not just writer, but he is the whole damn show, if you will. Mike Spicer on the colors here, as he almost always is with Daniel Warren Johnson. I'm stoked to learn about Beta Ray Bill, but I believe this is the last main comic book series that Daniel Warren Johnson did that I didn't own and that I haven't read yet. So be on the lookout very, very soon for not only potentially a review of this book, but kind of a video on Daniel Warren Johnson's works as a creator, just in general. I've been wanting to do the video for a long time. I've been trying to wait for this. It's here. I'm going to read it. I'm super duper stoked. All right, so you're probably like, Alex, what about Hush? What about Hush 2? Where's Hush 2? We want to hear about Hush 2. This is Hush 2, right? No, I'm kidding. This is a preview for the second issue. Just kind of takes you through some things. Jim Lee, Jeff Lowe back with Hush 2. Everybody's losing their mind over it. Before we get to that, though, I do want to point out this is a novel. This is about a 500-page novel called Kings of the Wild. It is by Nicholas Eames. Nicholas Eames also did a comic book called Barbaric through, I believe it was Vault, was the distributor. But this is a full-on big boy book, a novel, an actual novel, not a graphic novel. Like, these are all words in here. And I've been, as you can probably tell, not getting as many comics as I used to. A lot of the big 2 books just aren't really hitting the mark with me, so I've been sticking close to a lot of the indie stories that I really love. That being said, And I've been branching off to manga and now novels, actual factual novels. So I'm reading this. It's absolutely hilarious so far. I am only 19 pages in, but I can already tell this is going to be a quick read. This is going to be a funny, a hilarious read. I laughed out loud in public reading a book. I felt like a complete jabroni for doing so. But absolutely loving this book so far. I am not a novel reader, like ever. I used to be a little bit back in my early days. Now that I'm a little bit older, I want to get back into it. Reading can be fun even if you don't have spandex superhero pictures. So Kings of the Wild, if you like, if you've ever played D&D or like fantasy, but with a modern kind of voice behind it, you definitely want to check this book out if you are a novel reader. I know that not everybody is. I just wanted to shout that out. And shout out to Nicholas Eames, who I put it on my story on Instagram, on my graphic novel collector Instagram, and he actually responded. He said, "Hey, I'm glad you picked it up. I hope you enjoy it." So that was pretty cool to see him do that. Okay, let's get to Hush. Let's get to Hush 2. This is, of course, by Jeff Loeb and Jim Lee. Now, I know Jeff Loeb, I think, was like an executive producer on the Daredevil Season 2. Apparently, he's kind of problematic, said some xenophobic things, and made some of the cast and crew's lives kind of hell on that show. I do want to point that out and acknowledge. That's not great. Don't be a shithead. Don't be xenophobic, things like that. But Jeff Loeb doing it. Jim Lee, I gotta say, Jim Lee, not quite the exact same artist that he was the first time around. Also, the coloring in this book is just strange. It has this tinge of teal throughout the entire issue almost, and I just didn't really dig it. The story was fine. Nothing to write home about. I feel like this was probably a lot of criticism, maybe other than the teal, chromatic teal wash. This might have been criticism from the original Hush back in the day. I don't know. I definitely wasn't collecting week-to-week comics, but back then. But yeah, Hush is back. This issue's fine. It's setting up, obviously. Hush has come back. He's using the Joker kind of as a puppet to try and really, really get to Bruce Wayne. Of course, Bruce figures it out in the end of the book who it is that is pulling the strings. But I don't know. I'm not sure I'm going to continue the series, to be honest. I know I've been waiting for it for quite some time. That being said, and I was like really crazy excited whenever I heard it announced. But that being said, I'm not too sure if I'm going to continue Hush 2. This issue was just like a 2. Like maybe a 2.5, I guess I would call it. Like, it wasn't bad. Certainly wasn't good. It certainly wasn't great, at least. Jim Lee, not the artist he used to be. And that pains me because Jim Lee, when I think of comic book art, I think of Jim Lee's art. So it brings me no pleasure, no happiness to say that this book is just kind of okay. And I know that's probably not what everyone wants to hear, but yeah, it was all right. It was all right. There's too many good Batman books right now. There's Batman and Robin Year One. There's Detective Comics, which is actually awesome. Loving it. And yeah, and Absolute, I'm really enjoying it. Big, fun, stupid, big old dumb Batman. And I really like that. So, yeah, Batman Hush was completely fine. We'll give this a 2.5 will be my official score. I did have the little Batman, the little freebie they kind of threw in for the preview of book number 2. Beta Ray Bill Agent star. Gonna read that soon. Radiant Black, one of the weaker issues of Radiant Black for me, still gets a 3. We've got Ultimate Spider-Man. This was issue 15. Still great storytelling. 3.5 stars. And then, of course, the pick of the week, as I said at the beginning of the episode, Feral issue 11. Tony Fleece, crafting such a compelling and terrifying story of these kitty cat zombie apocalypse. And then, again, Kings of the Wild. Again, if you like D&D, if you like fantasy, it's not like high fantasy, but I think you should check it out at least. It's fun. It's only like 18 bucks, 19 bucks, so check it out. I appreciate everyone. I'm sorry that the setup and the audio might not be what it usually is. I'm not sure what's going on with my webcam. Hopefully that will be resolved by next video. Otherwise, I thank you all so much. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. I would love to talk to you about any of the books here and have some suggestions for me. I would love to get to talk to you all. Thank you all so much. I'm not sure I'm going to do like an outro screen in this, so there's probably some videos now popping up. And yeah, I appreciate you. Keep reading comics, and I will catch you all on the Flippy Flop. Adios, everyone.